People expect marriage to work automatically. But look, you get married at 25, this man 25, those are 50 years of history connecting. How are you going to just think that it's going to be automatic? That we just know each other, we click like this, we know each other? No. Years later, you're still discovering each other. You're still finding out so many things that you didn't know. I'm sure in your 8 years you can say that. You can see.
Even about yourself. Let alone each other.
Yeah.
You know? You're still figuring, oh wait, I didn't like that, or oh no wait, I prefer it this way. So how how you expecting that person to know stuff about you before you understand it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even you're figuring out yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So relationships are beautiful, but they are built.
Yeah.
And they are built over time. And don't quit before you even start. Give each other time. Give each other time. Talk about it, like grow together. See.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot to see in relationship.
Don't let what you've done hinder you. Don't you let where you've been hinder you. Don't let what they say hinder you. Don't you let your past hinder you. You're a woman without limits. You're a woman without limits. There's nothing the enemy can do to stop what God has for you. You're a woman without limits. You're a woman without limits. Woman without limits. Na 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 na. Woman without limits. Woman.
We are doing Matters Relationships. We have an amazing program that I believe is going to bless you. If you were here last month, I know many of you got back and you were like, Mom, please do a part two, because we needed to get deeper. The questions were getting hotter while we were leaving, and we had to leave. So we want to do a quick work. I'm going to take a few moments, then I'm going to ask a son of mine to do a few moments. Today, not today. So relationships as women, they make us tick. They make us tick, they inspire us, they grow us, they teach us. We learn from relationships, amen? And they make us laugh, they make us smile. So relationships are goals where women are concerned, amen? They give us the greatest joy, but they also give us the greatest drama. There is no drama in life like relationship drama. That is where it's at, amen? And so, no relationship is perfect. And I want you to really, really get that in your spirit. There is no relationship. No matter how much you love each other, no matter how much you feel for each other, no matter what, even if you're best friends, like many of my sons and their wives are best friends, just like the father and the mother. Because my husband is my best friend. For the last 30 years in our marriage, he's been my best friend, an amazing, mighty man. He knows how to love a woman. He knows how to, let me tell you, when you see a woman looking nice, know that the husband is not mistreating that girl. Because when a girl is mistreated, there are some things that happen. Like they forget to put chemical on the hair. They forget makeup. They forget to look nice. They start looking older. Amen? So that's very dangerous. And so, dysfunctional relationships can completely wreck your life. Dysfunctional relationships can be so bad for your health. There is no way you can move forward with a dysfunctional relationship and become all that you are created to be. Like carbon monoxide, I want you to understand the toxic relationships and the dysfunctional ones begin to seep in. They begin to seep into your life slowly but surely. They may not even look obvious in the beginning, but they begin to eat you up from inside. So you find that you're no longer the person that you are before. And so today, I want to take a few moments and speak to us about toxic relationships. Because when you have a toxic relationship, some of you are in one right now, some of you have been in one right now, and some of you will not get into one because of today. So many times it seeps in slowly until you get immersed into toxicity. And before you know it, you're so deep inside that you don't even know whether you've been in a toxic relationship. You're just seeing yourself change in so many different ways. A toxic relationship is any relationship between a man and a woman that do not support each other. A toxic relationship is any relationship between two that you don't support each other. A toxic relationship is where there is conflict, you seek to be the winner in that conflict. You do not do conflicts to solve. Nice to see you. You do conflicts to win. When you start to realize that you and your spouse are competing against one another, you need to watch out for toxicity. When it is a competition on who's going to win in this fight, who's going to take the medal. Because I want to let you know, if you're in a straightforward, nice relationship, you don't need to win in a battle. You don't need to win in no battle. Because why? Both of you are either winners or both of you are losers. But a toxic relationship is where everything becomes a fight. Everything. You can never discuss anything properly. It all becomes a fight. And the bad times outweigh the good times. So when you look, you realize that the bad times are so bad, they are so horrible, that they don't let you enjoy anything in this relationship at all. Now, these are the things you need to rethink about if you're in such a relationship. Number one, I had not started. If that relationship there is abuse, you need to rethink about that relationship. Now, the most serious warning side or sites in relationships that are toxic, in abuse, the most serious one is violence. If there is violence, there are women that are slapped and they say it was only a slap. It's nothing big. I can handle him. I will change him. If he has slapped you before he has married you, believe me, he was just warming up his muscles. He was just trying to see how far you can take. Do you know what I had a man say a long time ago? I had a man say that, you know what, girls? You're the ones who teach us how to treat you. Yeah, so if today I come at 3 a.m. and you say nothing, I'll try 3:30. You say nothing, I'm trying the next day. Why? Because you said nothing. So you're the one to toe the line and to draw it and to say, no. This we don't do. Am I talking to somebody? And so some people accept abuse and they allow themselves to be abused by this person who is even going ahead and hitting you. And in other cases, he is a man that speaks down on you. He abuses you emotionally. Did you know that emotional abuse, they say, could actually be even worse than physical? Because you see, you can't tell somebody it's here. You know, if it's a slap, the hand is drawn. You can see the fingers, you can see the redness, you can see the swelling, you can see something. But when it comes to emotional heartbreak and abuse, you don't see it. So people say this guy is abusing, but nobody can see the abuse. Are we talking? And so at the end of the day, you're the one who must know and toe the line and decide, I am not going to be abused. And I'm not raising daughters of Zion to be abused. Hey! Then when he slaps you, he swears you into secrecy. He tells you, listen, honey. And most times he cries. Crocodile tears. He is weighing you to see how much you can handle. So he slaps you and then he starts to cry, baby, I can't believe. And let me tell you what that is. It's what you call gaslighting. Can we talk today? Gaslighting is where he actually makes you think you are the problem. So he slaps you and then he convinces you it's you. You see, if you didn't do this, if you don't say this, if you don't take it like this, I would never hit you. Me, do I look like a man that can hit anyone? Me, as you see me so. You tell him, yes, you do. Because you just did. Am I talking to somebody? But gaslighting is the one that actually, let me tell you, gaslighting is when a man makes you feel mad. You actually do feel mad. Can I talk to you? So what happens is, you probably notice a a message on his phone that is not of God. We'll just say it's not of God. Or even, okay, you even see naked pictures on his phone, and that person's nakedness is all over your phone. Am I talking? You see something like that. Then the person now, gaslighting is like this. He tells you, which part? Where did you see? Where did you see over my phone? Are you serious? Me, my phone? Maybe it's something that just popped and left. Me, I didn't see. That's yours. It's you. You start double checking yourself. I didn't see. Let me give you a real life story. This woman, listen, this is real. This is not a joke. It's real. So this woman is told that, you know what, your husband always comes back when you go to work. You know, you live with both cars. He goes to work, but he always comes back. So the woman one day decided to also go back and see what takes him back. He goes back for the house help. He has to be helped in other areas. So guess what? She goes back this day. She decides, I'm also going to go back and see. She goes back and she finds his car downstairs. And so she's walking. Her heart is beating, of course you can imagine. Her heart is racing. She's going upstairs with a raced heart. And she's wondering, dear God, you mean what I've been hearing is true? Dear God. She goes upstairs. By the time she gets upstairs, the house help is out there. Do you understand me? And looks at her and says, Mom, you're back. And she says, yes, I'm back. Where is my husband? He says, husband. She says, husband. They saw her. He used the back as she was coming from the front, and he went away. Guess what? When she now rushed back to the office, found him sitting, and he had told the secretary to say he has not left the office at all. Gaslighting. Guess what? The woman lost her mind because she thought, I didn't drive. Like, this is a real life story. I didn't drive. Maybe I didn't drive. Did I see his car? She ended up in Madare because of gaslighting. Don't play with mental things that can mess up with your heart completely. Abuse is not of God. You must never take abuse, no matter what he's giving you, kwani nini. Because I hear those kind of people are very sexual and they can do dangerous things in bed. Life is not about bed.
Why is it important for me to share on the signs of a dying relationship? It is because there are many of us in this place today whose relationships are struggling. And when you know these telltale signs, there will be a red flag to warn you so that you're not caught unawares, just in case your relationship is of God. And there are some of us, of course, who are in relationships that we are insisting to remain in, but God wants us out. And I pray that this will actually be your clarion call to call it quits. What are the signs of a dying relationship? Let me begin by saying that every relationship requires work. However, when a relationship becomes more work than it is fun, it can mean that the relationship is slowly dying. Let me say that again. When a relationship becomes more work than it is fun, it can mean that the relationship is slowly dying. Good pastor, how do I know that my relationship is dying? I'm glad you asked. Number one, you don't talk about personal things anymore. There are married people in this place who for quite some time have not been speaking about personal things anymore. At the beginning of the relationship, maybe you discussed all your hopes and dreams and serious issues in your life. But now, tell your neighbor for me, but now, it seems like all of your conversations are rehearsed. Yeah. You no longer are discussing real emotional things and instead seem to only talk about how your day went and what you have for dinner. And by dinner, I mean the English one, not the Kikuyu one. Therefore, it is clear that when there's nothing left to talk about, the relationship starts to die. You know, to the Englishman, dinner is what you have in the evening. But to the Kikuyus, dinner is Tupac. And I don't mean Tupac Shakur. I mean the days of your latter glory. Number 2 sign, you are never on the same page. When you realize you are never on the same page, that is a major red flag. Your values are no longer as aligned as they once were. Listen, important things that mean a lot to you no longer mean the same to your partner or vice versa. Think about it. Disagreeing without understanding the other person's perspective indicates a deep lack of understanding of the other person. If you find yourself always disagreeing with your partner's point of view without really seeking to understand what they mean, it's a red flag in general. And somebody who doesn't understand you will not make a great long-term partner. There are some of you who are insisting on staying in relationships where the partner does not understand you. Okay? All right. Hold it here. Marriage people, stay saved. Married people, stay saved. All right. Number 3, you complain about the same things. If you find yourselves complaining about the same things, it's a sign that your relationship is gradually dying. For example, you keep complaining that the sink is broken. Yeah? You keep throwing things all over the house. You know, whatever the issue, the complaint arises over and over and it never gets fixed. This means that you and your partner are no longer actively trying to make the other person happy. It's intentional. And listen, the things that upset you go in one ear and out of the other just because he has sincerely stopped caring for you as he ought to. And when this happens, your relationship starts to die. You argue about the same things. When my wife complains about something, I had better act on it ASAP. If I really mean it, if I really love her, if I really value our relationship. But when you do it over and over again and never seem to clear the air, your relationship is headed to where my English sister, Pastor Joanne, would call the doldrums. Tell your neighbor for me, doldrums. I didn't say dodero, I said doldrums. Number 4, you argue more often. Yeah? At the beginning of your relationship, maybe everything was so happy and wonderful that you never argued at all. But now, it seems like all you do is argue. And the arguments are all about mundane or superficial things. Or maybe they are the exact same argument that you've been having for years that never seems to have an end and there's no way to resolve. Listen to this, married people. Listen to this, single people. As couples get to know each other better, there should be a progression toward more understanding and less misunderstanding. Therefore, more arguments mean that there is less compromise, which means the relationship is dying because none of you is willing to concede ground. How do you know your relationship is on its deathbed? Number 5, you want more space. Remember, learning this will help us salvage the relationships that should be alive, not so? And learning this will also give us peace with ourselves as we let go of relationships that we shouldn't be having in the first place. When you want more space, that's a major red flag. When your partner goes to visit their parents or goes on a business trip, you get a huge sense of relief at having space to yourself. Kimeenda. Kinini sisi unafikiria ni kinyoka, kifaru, kumbe ni kimuhusband. You no longer miss your partner during the day like you once did. And you feel your need for space is seeming to increase more and more frequently. When she goes to the salon, it's a relief to you. Yeah? When he goes to work, it's a much needed break. Think about it. If you're all that excited to have a weekend alone, consider that the reason for your joy is that they're draining you when they are around. Do you think it makes sense? You're feeling drained. That's why when they leave, their departure becomes a welcome relief. The next sign is you don't feel like yourself. Yeah? I like joking. I like making fun. I mean, life is full of so many challenges. Why do you want to add to your misery by being serious and unhappy? So if my wife tends to make me feel guilty of loving humor and I'm no longer myself, that's a red flag right there. Not so. When you are around your partner, do you feel more anxious? Do you feel more depressed? Do you feel more uncomfortable than you used to? Are you no longer the happy, talkative person that you once were? It's a red flag. Tell your neighbor, for me, that relationship is on the deathbed. All right? A dying relationship can make you feel all kinds of upset and negative emotions, and you suddenly no longer feel like yourself anymore. Maybe your friends and family notice that your personality has begun to change. This is a sign that a relationship is on its last leg. I'm careful with my antennas up as a pastor. When I see people coming back from honeymoon, going through their first formative years of their marriage, and they all of a sudden change from being these bubbly, cheerful human beings to being people who look like they're depressed, chances are the problem is in their marriage. Do you think so? Next, you are unsure about your future. Yes. When thinking about your future, are you suddenly no longer envisioning yourself with them by your side? If you no longer think about them in your future, it may be a sign that you're not destined to be there. Yeah. You want to go to America, but you want to go alone. You want to go to China, and you want to go alone. A dying relationship will no longer feel like something that you can look forward to in the future. Not so. The next one is distancing. If one or both partners is consistently tuning out, seeking distractions, and making a conscious effort to avoid making a connection, it may be that the bond between you has already been severed. Distancing. That you no longer watch the same program together. Of course, there are things my wife watches that I cannot stand. I love her, but that does not mean I love everything she watches. She has recently been fixated on Salem, but I let her watch Salem because it makes her happy. I'm into crime documentaries. She at times finds them. She allows me to watch them because they make me fascinated. Do you think it makes sense? All right. The next one is contempt. Kinyoriro. Where is my brother Isaac? The most serious possible sign once a relationship is at this point is that you start holding each other in contempt. And the survival rate of a relationship at this stage is very low. You know, it's one thing to be upset with each other. It's totally another thing to be contemptuous. Pastor Joan, contemptuous, that one, towards each other.
Oh, man.
I'm so excited that we have won
Daughters of Zion.
Daughters of Zion.
Yeah.
This is a convention, Greater Awards convention that happened last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we want to invite you for this Daughters of Zion 2023. It begins on the 28th of August to the 3rd of September. It's such a powerful convention. We learn so much. Everything concerning life itself. I'm telling you, we really go deep and talk about finances, talk about health, talk about relationship, talk about, when we talk about health, we're talking mental health, we are talking about women's health, with gynecologists and all that. We learn about parenting, we learn about, relationships. It's really awesome and powerful.
Estate laws.
Yes, laws.
Women's rights, in inheritance.
Oh my gosh. Register now. The registration is free. It's free. So register now. I have so many partners that have stood with me and are partnering with me to make sure that everything falls in place. If you're there and you're saying, I want to partner too, go ahead and do that, and I will bless God for you.
Oh, man.
So during the daughters' convention, we got a few
It was the
questions.
daughters' meeting.
Sorry, the daughters meeting, my bad. Kuna kijana nilikuwa na yeye kwa relationship, lakini akaniwacha akaenda kuoa msichana mwingine, na akiniwacha nilikuwa na mimba yake, nikajikaza nikazaa. Sasa huyu mwanaume ananisumbua, anashinda akikuja akiwa mlewa na hata apologize. Kila time akikuja anakuja kwetu kama melewa na hashughuliki na mtoto. Nasikia uchungu sana, juu naona ananidharau. Nifanyaje?
Oh. That is so. What did you understand by it?
Okay. So this lady, for all our English viewers, was in a relationship with a man, and he left her and got married, but she was pregnant. So she kept the baby and gave birth. Now he's disturbing them, going to her constantly when he's drunk, and every time he goes to her place, he doesn't even apologize. He goes drunk and doesn't even ask or question about the child. I'm sure, even though he knows it's his. So she's hurting and she doesn't know what to do. So, she's asking us, what happens there?
He is already having another woman.
Yeah,
right?
He's married.
He's already, he's moved on.
Yeah.
So he just wants you to be like a side.
Pretty much. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's how I'm reading the question.
And then he's not even asking you about his child. Already he can show you clearly
doesn't
that he's
care.
an irresponsible man who doesn't care. Who doesn't care. He's getting benefits by coming to you. And so, you know what? I think it's time for you to just brace yourself and say bye-bye. Because if he's already gone and started another family, why do you want to waste your life around him?
Yeah.
And he doesn't even ask you about your child. That's his child.
Yeah.
He doesn't even care. He has never asked about the child. Like, I think that's just, for me, the writing is on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think we've heard this from people already in the past, where I think you need to draw a very clear distinction, a line in that relationship. This is clearly not the person who's trying to be with you. He doesn't care about you. Not enough, clearly, to get married knowing you're pregnant and coming to you drunk, right? So he doesn't even have the audacity to see you sober. He doesn't care. So you need to really be clear on the relationship you have with this man. If you want him to be in your child's life, although it seems like he doesn't care, give him access. I genuinely believe that fathers should always have access to their kids, assuming they're not crazy, hitting them or any other meandering that's ridiculous. They should have access to their kids. It's important for kids to grow up with access to both their parents where it can happen. So facilitate that. Create an environment where that's possible. But for your pain to stop, you need to let him go.
Yeah.
This man is not for you. Doesn't care about you. Okay? So I would just be thinking, how can I, if possible, protect that future relationship for my kid and him? And move on. Find
Move on.
someone new.
Move on. Move on, baby.
Move on. Now we have one last question, and then we're done.
Okay.
Where is this from? Okay. Mine is a bit different. I'm from a broken relationship with 3 children. Then I entered into another relationship. Now we're at a place of ending it. This guy has stopped supporting in school fees. And he's extended, my daughter's affected in an extended way. She's saying men are not good. What should I do?
Wow. Okay, so these kids are not his kids.
That's how it's
Because she
reading.
got into the relationship with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's showing her his true colors. Like,
No, it just,
he's not
it sounds
interested.
like they just ended, yeah.
yeah, so he's not interested.
Yeah.
Like, even in the relationship. Again, I think it's just time for her to quit. I think it's time for you to move on. Like, he's showing you he's not interested in you or the kids. What you need to do is let the kid know that having a bad relationship between you and the man doesn't mean that men are bad. Because now she's saying that the kid thinks men are all terrible. Yeah, I think she needs to change that notion on the kid, because it's not good for the child to grow up thinking men are this and men are that. And I think that's also something that grown-ups need to really do. They need to be very careful on the picture they're portraying to their kids relationally. Because you see, if you have a fight with your husband or that man, it should not now be directed to show your kids that relationships are horrible.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, grown-ups should be mature enough not to be fighting and bringing up their mess in the presence of their children. Yeah.
No, I agree. Who knows? Perhaps the man left because the pressure of this was too much. Taking care of kids that weren't his. You don't know. You've only had one side of the story. But it's really unfair for her to let the kids go on feeling like men are the problem.
Exactly.
I wish we'd spend a lot more time shielding children from grown-up issues. So I'd say, spend more time talking to your daughter around some of the positive aspects of men. And if you've never seen it, get help, like therapy.
Yeah.
Learn about it. I'm sure there's some people, some friends that you have who are in stable situations. Ask them for guidance.
It's so important.
Like, we need the next generation to break generational traumas.
Exactly. And to know what's right. Like, if you're a grown-up, please stop fighting in the presence of your children. And let them not go thinking, oh, men are bad or women are bad, just based on what they've had to encounter. So it's very important for you to change that child's notion.
Pastor Andrew, you talked about an entire list, but you just left it. Could you allow him to just say how, if you're counting that list and it's checking out for a friend, I know, if you have counted many and they resonate, what do you do? Because you left it somewhere.
Thank you so much. In 1 minute, that list was to help you gauge your relationship so that you can know whether it's dying or not, and so that you can be able to salvage it. You see, many of us who are married may tick a number of items on that list. So it becomes a red flag that I need to contend with this because it portends a threat to the stability of my marriage. But of course, if you're single and you ticked all those, chances are it's a throw, chances are utarambwa. So you just need to know that this one I should just, like we say in Rift Valley, I give up. But if you're married, that is meant to motivate you to work on it. Thank you.
Glory to God.
I've been married for 8 years. I recently discovered that my husband was cheating on me. It really broke my heart. I don't want anything to do with him. We have not been intimate for the last 2 years, so of late, the way out for me is to masturbate. I feel so bad after doing it, but it's the only way to satisfy my needs because I can't go out and do it. Do it with other men. The temptation is high, but I'm really praying not to go that direction. I actually feel I should just move out, I think, of the house. I wonder if there is hope because I don't want anything to do with him. I'm dying inside slowly.
Let me say something, and then I'm going to allow Drake to also say something. I have counseled with many marriages, many. I've been, JCC is 24 years old. So I've been counseling with many marriages over the years. And I have seen marriages where there was a cheating spouse that turned around and the spouse forgave and they healed and they became stronger than ever before. So the thing is that you as a woman, if you're there still in the house, it means that there is still something in your heart for that man. Otherwise, you probably would have moved out. Number two, the word of God even allows you to move out, to go if you want. It says you can divorce based on adultery. It allows you. So God allows you. So you are free. You can. However, there is also the part of forgiveness. And I've seen women who are forgiven infidelity in their marriages, and their marriages healed, and things changed, and they became very strong. They actually even became marriage counselors, some of them. It happens, and so it's you to make that decision. But make a very sober decision. I'll tell you why. A lady came to me recently. I don't know if she's here or she's traveled. And if she is, I don't even want you to raise your hand or to come forward. It's okay. And she said to me that she's going through a divorce right now. She said, Mom, I did not know that divorce is this painful. I thought it was just a walk in the park. I thought, you know what, he's upset me, I'm just going. And she packed up and left and went through the divorce. But she's telling me the pain she's feeling is worse than death. Dennis told us here that it was so painful, he's still healing from it. Even though he's now married for 4 years. And he's still healing from it. So it's a very painful, gruesome situation. That is why the Bible says, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. The divorce is not a joke. I'm telling you. I've heard it even from my spiritual mom saying how very, very difficult divorce is. And so I just want to tell you, don't think that walking out is just, you're just going to pick your things and go. The pain is beyond, and you need to consider sitting with a counselor and being able to walk the journey, and perhaps you will find it in your heart to forgive and move on. You'll be surprised that there are many who heal, and they heal and become very powerful couples. So please don't walk out before you get help. Drake.
Thank you, Mom. In the month of February, I was called to a meeting of divorced women. There were around 60. To talk to them about where the men are. And, yeah. Yeah, there were 60 men. We were 3 men. The other one was the MC. And a 66-year-old man. Now, when I went to that meeting, I got to hear the stories of these ladies. And some of them actually got divorced because of a cheating situation. And I talked to a lady, she's been very senior in this country, and she got divorced. She held one of the highest legal positions in Kenya. And this is what she told me. She got divorced 30-something years ago. Now she's in her 60s, and the birds left the nest. The children left home. Now she's all alone. And one of the most difficult things was being alone in your 60s. No one to say hi to. Bothering your kids, flying all over the world. They want nothing to do with you. You fly to see your daughter in London, she has no time for you. You come back to Nairobi, the other one is too busy, all over the world, flying. You're all alone. You have a 20-acre farm. You have a big house in Runda. You're alone. Just because you didn't forgive, or you couldn't forgive. And I told her you can still forgive your ex-husband, who moved on swiftly. But you can still forgive. So my advice would be, forgive. As Mom said, seek therapy. Yeah. There are very many programs for divorcees, or I don't want you to divorce, but just go and sit down with a therapist, a marriage therapist, and talk through the process. Women talk and they heal. Just sit down with a counselor, and I think God is going to help you. And also pray. Pray that God will heal your heart. Then desist from those electronic devices. They will numb your nerves. Then when a real man comes in, he will not measure up to the electricity. So desist. Even your husband will not be able to match up to that. And I think it's a lie from the pit of hell that you measure a man with an electronic device. I think no man can keep up with a machine. So kindly just...
And they even have names for the machines.
Yeah, they are called Ruben, whatever. So I don't think you can keep up with such machines. So just tell God to help you. Help is on the way. Yeah. Thank you.
And there is an infidelity therapist that I'd like you, with mom's permission, to check on in YouTube. He's an infidelity therapist. He basically helps individuals like yourself who've been cheated on and they want to recover as a couple, as an individual. He specializes in dealing with infidelity. It will help you.
Sometimes you find women use kids as a bait, that they end up having so many shares in a different relationship that their baby daddy is in. So what are those boundaries you have that, one, do not affect your relationship with your child, and also the relationship that you have with your wife? Thank you.
Wow.
Those are tough ones.
Yeah.
I will try to answer the first one. So the lessons learned. Well, there are so many, but I earlier said 2 wrongs don't make a right. So what happened in my situation is we had a child out of wedlock. And so for me, I admitted straight away that, okay, we have a child. This situation, it has happened. And so what's the right thing to do? And at the time I believed every woman dreams of doing a white wedding. And so I wanted to do that. But the foundation of doing that was wrong. It was trying to correct an image that was already out there. We already have a child. So we are trying to do a wedding to sort of cover this up. But all the while I didn't hear God. So the thing that I've learned is to hear God, especially when it comes to relationships, whether it's business, whether it's a job you've applied for, whether it's a marriage. There are things I wish I had done when I was single, because at the time, I shut God out, and it was me and my feelings and what I wanted, and I got burnt. And so it's important to hear the voice of God before you jump into any relationship, and be very clear and hear this clearly from God, that this is who God had ordained for you. So that's one thing that I learned, to hear the voice of God. The second question, boundaries. So one of the things that I've done, and I continually do, is be very open. It's just being very, very open. I'm very open with my wife. So anytime I plan to do a meeting, anytime I plan to see my child, I always inform her. I tell her, I'm going to this place at this time, I'm going to take this long, and I'm going to be back. And so from that openness, and sometimes we'll even go together. So from that space of openness and her trusting me that I'm alone on the other side and I'm taking care of myself, I had to make her trust me. You see, trust goes both ways. There has to be an action. So she's studied me, she's seen my actions, and she's able to trust me that where I'm going, I've set my boundaries. And I've made that very, very clear. Now, does this affect the relationship with the child? Of course it does. The effects of a relationship between a father and a child is not after all these things are said and done. I said it starts right from the divorce, because there are 2 stages to the divorce. There's something they call decree nisi. So the decree nisi is where the court looks at the documents and says, okay, we have every reason to believe that this thing is not salvageable, so we're going to set a date. So decree nisi, actually nisi is Latin to mean unless. So you're given a document that you're given time, unless you decide to change your mind, because a lot of couples change their minds. But when you're not able to change your mind, then you're given the decree absolute. Now that basically ends the marriage, so you're free to remarry if you want to. But during that whole process, because it's emotionally draining, it affects the child, because the child is separated from you or from one partner. They can't understand why. They don't understand divorce. Kids don't understand divorce. And so psychologically, it already affects the child. But then when you have access to the child, it's making this child understand. And this is where, you know how people say nasty things about each other? Be the bigger person and refuse to be part of that. Because when your child grows up, they will read these things. Daddy, you said this about mommy. Mommy, you said these things about daddy. And you see, for grown-ups and going through divorce, we don't think about these things. But for the child, you have to keep explaining to the child and being there with the child. It's very difficult because you can't do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But with time, children learn to understand and they feel that love even though you're very, very distant. And so setting those boundaries is both ways. One is I'll tell my wife, this, I don't even need to tell her my limits. She already knows. But to the other person, it's also how you behave. Because if you have broken up with your ex, but you still, you know there's a hug, eh? There is a hug and then there's a hug, okay?
There is a hug and there is a hugger.
Yes. So if you've broken up with your ex, you know the kind of hug that used to turn you on. You know the kind of hug that would make you feel wobbly and your knees knocking each other and stuff. Avoid those kind of situations and be serious. So if it is a greeting, hi, Pastor Andrew was saying, Bwana asifiwe. Ni Bwana asifiwe. Let's talk about the child. What do they need? And be very formal about it and then leave. It sends a message to your ex that this is a no-go zone. But if you're so open, you're all smiley, you're taking selfies, you're hugging each other, you're sitting together because of the child, that's a red flag. Something is about to happen.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure that has answered very well, and for many who are here.